Hating on Filipino food, I'm going to open up my refrigerator and show you 2 secret ingredients. Welcome to our home.
And welcome back to our channel, Fly Me to the Philippines.
Today, we're in the kitchen to talk food, specifically Filipino food. There are some expats that absolutely hate Filipino food.
If you're planning to come here in the Philippines, food is one of the essentials that you need to consider, so you have to watch this video. Maybe you have a top secret for food solution here in the Philippines that you're hiding inside the refrigerator. So.
It's only for me, no one else can know about it.
Yes. Are you going to share it with them?
Stick around. I'm going to open my refrigerator and share 2 ingredients that'll make your experience of eating in the Philippines 180% better.
And it's not just you're gonna like it, but your Filipino will love it too.
I was on the patio, Chrissy, enjoying my cup of coffee. I'm browsing the Facebook groups, and there it is. There's a Philippine Expats group, 40,000 plus expats, a pretty good expat community, and somebody posed a really good question. Actually, Precious, same name as your half-sister. So Precious asked, how many of you expats actually eat Filipino food on a daily basis? Do you make your own version of food from your home country by using substitutions? So she says she grew up on Filipino food, but she misses the variety of food back in the United States. When it comes to Filipino food, this is a big issue. Some people, they don't come to the Philippines, they go to Thailand because of the food. They go to Mexico because of the food. They'd rather be in Ecuador because of the food. Food is really important. And boy, when it comes to having an opinion about Filipino food, there's no shortage of them. Personally, I'm not the expat that hates Filipino food. I love my Filipina, and I love anything that she'll cook for me. Today, Chrissy, people on the Facebook forum responded to Precious's question. Boy, she hit a nerve. It's like a cat on a hot tin roof.
Yes.
It's Thanksgiving Day. Everybody's got food on their mind. People, boy, tell us how you really feel. People shared some amazing opinions about Filipino food, and I think you might be interested in hearing what they had to say. We're going to share that with you. Himanshu writes, I won't touch Filipino food with a 10-foot pole. Unhealthy, greasy, oversalted, and tasteless. So immediately when this fella Himanshu gave his comment, he receives a lot of hatred, but the most common thing is, if you don't like it here, go back to your home country. You know, nobody's allowed to express an opinion without being told, go back to your home country. There's 118 comments and growing as of this morning.
I love our food. Let us say I grew up with this food that these guys hated a lot. Say that Filipino foods are not good, they're greasy, they are tasteless. Maybe you haven't discovered yet some of the dishes that Filipino serves that are really good.
You know, Chrissy, all over the world you will find Thai restaurants. Every small town has a Thai restaurant. Here in Uptown CDO we've got several. Thai food is just known throughout the world as being spectacular. You almost never find a Filipino restaurant.
I think it is because Thailand, they have really their own signature that they owned the recipe and the ingredients. They invented it by these Thai people. But here in the Philippines, our food here are influenced by so many races like American, Spanish, and Japanese, Chinese, and so other. And then as the time evolves, Filipino used to customize and improvise their cooking techniques and skills, and so that they have come up with these trending Filipino foods that many expats doesn't really like, but it's like a taste bud favorite of the Filipinos.
You know, if Spain had sugar plantations, I think Spanish food might have ended up differently. And here in the Philippines, you were colonized by Spain for 300 years, but you've got these crazy sugarcane plantations all over the place. And so it's not a normal Spanish type diet. There's sugar in everything.
Yes.
And then cheap vegetable palm oil is also readily available here. So the combination of using a lot of fat, a lot of oil, and sugar, it kind of is unique to Filipino food. A lot of Westerners aren't really used to it. So Chrissy, I'm not the foreigner who hates Filipino food. I don't like to hate anything. I think hate's a strong word and not to be used. But in this Facebook group, we're going to share with you some of the comments, and some of the people outright hated Filipino food. If a foreigner was honest with you and they told you they do not enjoy, they do not like Filipino food, what would you have said when you were on a dating site? Would you have said, you're not the right guy for me?
No, you can make solution about in regards to food. You can customize or you can make your own food at home, and it could be less expensive, and you can have the taste of your choice.
Elvis writes in, sounds as bad as American food. Well, touche, Elvis. Richie writes in, blasphemy. Why are you living in the Philippines? Essentially, why don't you just go home?
Oh yeah, he's replying to...
Yeah, to Hanshu. The next thing you're going to say is you are gluten-free, zero sugar, all natural, grown organic, vegan, and don't understand why KFC doesn't accommodate your dietary needs. Frank, to Himanshu, says, gee, please tell us what you really think. Of course, it's only partially true, he says. Mike writes, it is possible to eat really, really good here, despite most of what you will hear here. But we've found, for the most part, we have to make it ourselves. You have to know how to source good ingredients and then how to cook them. We eat very healthy, nutritional, affordable meals, often for $1 to $3 US per day. My asawa, or Filipino nanny, cooks good Filipino and Western dishes. We eat a lot of seafood, soups, stews, and salads. He lists a laundry list of foods that they cook at home that he really likes. He says we eat affordably and locally. We eat both Western and Filipino food. We don't spend a lot at specialty stores. He says the restaurant food is mostly greasy, salty, and he makes his Western favorites at home. He says we feel great and have lost 15 kilos since coming to the Philippines. He says the diet and constant sweating helps.
Yeah, I think his comment is really helpful for those wants, alternatives of the dishes that they really want to taste. Here in the Philippines, if they want to eat Western food, and they can cook this at home and just order the ingredients from the country where you came from. It is possible nowadays.
Yeah, I think our experience is similar to his. We have access to good foods. We figured out where to buy them cheap. We were at the mall and we saw carrots for 5 times the price of what we can buy carrots at the big open wet market. And then there are other places we can get real good quality seafood and good quality food. Some things are a little bit of a stretch, but for the most part, if you know how to cook at home and you know how to source fresh food, you can make it work. Nick writes he agrees with Mike. That's what he usually tells people. There's some really, really good Filipino food, he says. And he says you won't ever find it unless you have a Filipino cooking for you at home with quality ingredients. What does he say here, Chrissy?
The stuff in the carinderias or small restaurants are mostly inedible. That's what he said.
And what was his solution?
But their solution is his wife is cooking for him at home.
John writes he agrees also, so there's a little bit of consensus forming. He has no problem with the Filipino food. Jason doesn't hold back. Jason writes, Filipina is probably the worst in Asia. And it's not healthy at all. Fatty, greasy, fried, oversweet, salty. The meat is simply hacked apart with a cleaver. Fish is never filleted, with it just being thrown in the fryer, and nothing is ever cooked, and no love or any preparation, he writes. For a pork culture, where are the carnitas, the slow roast ribs that fall off the bone? Proper lechon, smoked pork, pork chops, minced pork, or anything decent. I have no idea how to cook, but thanks to my air fryer and YouTube videos, I've put together a few decent meals, he said. Much better than the nastiness I get around town. So basically, he hates everything about Filipino food.
Yes, and what I can say about it is it's very odd and very amazing that how Filipino maintain their figure really good. Even their food diet is not that good compared to what you eat in the West. While some other Western people will say, I wonder why, because here in the West, we really take care of our diet, but just one mistake of the food that we're gonna eat, we just go large. So they were asking, what are the Asian, like May, secret for that?
Yeah, well, your brothers, Chrissy has 2 brothers, 23 and 17. they kind of like have Manny Pacquiao bodies. You can bounce a basketball off their tummy. And they're eating like a plate of rice, and I can't figure out how they're getting food and how they're so lean and fit. Jason says, I mix it up a bit, but do cook and eat Filipino. He says he mixes it up, but he does cook and eat Filipino food.
Yeah.
He says, cooking it myself, I can at least control the fat, salt, and sugar and get a flavor that's right for my palate. So we're starting to hear a theme, which is Western people, Western expats are saying, cook it at home. It's good food, Filipino food, but not so much when you're eating out at these canderitas,
Yeah.
and other restaurants.
That's the advantage of cooking at home, because at home you know what the water you use, you know what the ingredients you use, and if you want your dish to be sweet, you can use alternative ingredients or substitute to sugar. Which, if you're gonna just trust the restaurant, they will say, oh, it's a sugar-free. Who knows?
So Chrissy, when you on the side of the road, you see these restaurants and they have like 10 or 15 pots.
Yeah.
And it looks like the food was made like at 7 a.m. and they're just sitting out there in the hot Filipino weather.
Yes.
Would you eat at those places?
Yes, because I grew up eating those foods. So
But you don't worry that the food has gone bad because it's sat without refrigeration or it's not being heated continuously?
No, because as I said, I grew up like that. If you're not used to eat a food that is not refrigerated for so many hours, then it could be bad to you because your body is not used to it. But if your body is already conditioned and used to it, it will not affect you anymore.
You fought many battles, you can handle it.
Yes. So I was like, if I'm gonna hear this like nasty comments about the Filipino foods, it's just like you are making nasty comments on a thing that make these people live. You're making fun of the food that supports the living of these Filipino people.
Well, no, wait a minute. Let me, Chrissy, I've been to Mexico. It's a pretty dirt poor country, but people love the food. Now they eat a lot of beans, but the moles and the sauces and people in general love Mexican food, and there's a lot of poor people in Thailand too. They don't make fun of the local food.
Yeah, because this is what the people in the Philippines eat, and whatever food you eat way back in your home, that is the food that you're taking to live. And if Filipino people will make fun of that food that you're eating, it won't feel good.
No, I agree. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But we're on these Facebook forums, people they feel somewhat anonymous, even though their name is associated with it, and they're willing to put their opinion out there. Now we're YouTubers. If I honestly didn't like Filipino food, we'd get a lot of bashing. Personally, I'm willing to try most anything but balut. And let me make clear for anybody who didn't watch the whole video, I'm not the one who hates Filipino food. I'm just reporting to you what is being discussed in a very large expat Facebook forum. Okay, so Richard writes, I'm not always in the Philippines, but do stay there for months at a time. When I'm there, I like fresh seafood, sissig, local Philippine barbecue, lumpia. Is it lumpia? Did he misspell it? Lechon and pancit. Anything that is too sweet doesn't taste right to me, and hot dogs need to be on buns with condiments, he says.
Yes, I agree with that.
Dave writes he eats 50% Filipino food. The rest is a mix of Asian dishes that his Filipina has learned to make. Salvatore writes maybe once a week he eats Filipino food. He sticks with his Italian food though. But he has to say it's not cheap to eat Western meals here in the Philippines.
So I think you can get this foreign food that you really wanted to eat if you miss food back home.
But it's not cheap.
But it's not cheap.
Yeah, well, I had a great piece of salmon. We went to a restaurant here in Cagayan de Oro that was called Cuesta Rosia. Wow, what best food I've had in Cagayan de Oro since I've been here. I had a great piece of salmon. What do you have?
I have this seafood pasta. I really liked it.
And there's another restaurant here in town where all the expats hang out called the KL Lounge. Every first and third Saturday of the month, the expats kind of go for a barbecue cookout, and he serves shish kebabs and Western style steak, and it's reasonably priced. There's live music. It's the best Western food, other than Cuesta Rosia, that I've had since I've been in town. Telf writes, he eats Filipino food every day. He likes it. Paul writes, Filipino food is lammy. Lammy is Bisaya for yummy. He says there's only a few things that I don't like in the Filipina diet. That would be a balut, which you like. And
My
that's
favorite.
Okra or crunchy dried fish.
Oh, my favorite.
What about crunchy dried fish?
My favorite.
Yeah, say he doesn't like Chrissy's favorites. Coffee and toast in the morning, Filipino for lunch. So Rick writes, coffee and toast in the morning, Filipino for lunch, and foreign food for dinner. Okay.
Well balanced.
Michael writes, I eat a lot more fish and seafood here, fresh from the boat.
Nice.
It's an island after all. Veg and fruit plentiful. I rarely need a supermarket for food products. Chrissy, there's so many people like let it all hang out. There are some real haters. They don't like Filipino food. There are some people that have learned they can get fresh ingredients. And there's people that like it and cook it at home and they go out to eat it in restaurants. So I think that the takeaway is the stereotype that Filipino food is horrible is really off base. I think it's somewhat true that the Filipino recipes that you get in the less expensive restaurants, that you buy in the street food restaurants, even in the mall restaurants where you're getting Filipino dishes, you're going to get a lot of grease, a lot of sugar, and a poor quality of meat most of the time. But you take if your yaya or your mother or your Filipina cooks it for you at home and you source fresh ingredients, you control the sugar, you control the grease, you control the quality of the protein. Filipino dishes can be quite nice. I personally like chicken adobo, and you know, Chrissy's family lives at the ocean. They eat a lot of crab. Let's talk about how we've managed here in this house, because you like traditional Filipino foods and I eat a keto kind of Western diet mostly.
Yes.
For me, I kind of would pick a city within 30 minutes of what's called SNR. It's partially owned by Costco. It's kind of like the Costco of the Philippines. And if you're not ready to go 100% native and deal with Filipino food without access to kind of a Western style brands and Western style qualities, then you should stay within 30 minutes of a Costco SNR. So SNR, it is not of good value like in the West. We have a video on it where we share some of the prices. You know, where you might get 2.5 pounds of pistachios for $17 in America. Here you're going to get 2 pounds for $22. It's sort of like that kind of pricing. So we go there twice a month typically. And Chrissy, the other twice a month we go to the big giant wet market. Cagayan is a pretty big city. I'm not sure the exact population. I want to say like 750,000 in the general metropolitan area. So it's a second. It's not a Manila or a Cebu, but it's in the next tier of bigger cities. Yeah. And we have a ginormous wet market. It takes up a city block. And we go down there. It costs us like $12, or no, maybe it costs us like $10 round trip by taxi, but we probably save $20 or $25 in the cost of buying fruits and vegetables. And we buy shrimp down there. We get a kilo of large shrimp for a kilo, which is 2.2 pounds. So we're paying like $3.54 a pound for jumbo shrimp. Yeah. But the foods that I have found to be particularly mainstream for my diet is, I've mentioned this before, they have these Lechon Manuk, which means roasted chicken. Lechon is just roasted and Manuk is chicken, and they're everywhere. We have one right up the hill. It's right next to that vegetable store. He delivers for 20 cents, for 20 pesos, which is 40 cents.
It's a lifesaver.
So we eat 3 a week for 40 cents on a motorcycle. He just shows up, like within 4 minutes, he shows up at your door for 40 cents delivery fee. Yes. And it's a $5, 50-cent roasted chicken. Yes.
So by just that roasted chicken, you can really now spot the difference of the Western life, of the Western man, of the Western people and the Filipina, because here in the Philippines, Lechon Manuk is like a special dish for a special occasion like birthdays and any other celebrations.
Eggs, we are no problem. Eggs are reasonably priced. We have eggs for breakfast.
Yeah.
We buy a lot of tomatoes, a lot of cucumbers, Carrots, like I said, you got to be careful. At S&R, they're like really expensive. At
Yes.
Kogan, they're so cheap. Sometimes we get daikon for that special dish we'll talk to you about, and we also buy ground pork. And we have a barbecue outside, and we cook.
Yes.
Sometimes we'll cook chicken wings and chicken thighs on the barbecue. But to be honest with you, it's a lot of effort compared to just getting the whole roasted chicken. Chrissy, you eat something called bangus. So this is Chrissy's favorite, one of her favorites. This is called B-A-N-G-U-S, bangus. She pronounced it bangus?
Bangus.
Bangus. Now, the secret ingredient, like I said, if you could find Filipinas in Thailand, you'd be it would be perfect. So I've got my Filipina. She doesn't want to live too far away from her family, so we're not moving to Thailand. I love Thai food, and I like some of these Filipino foods too. But the secret is to make Thai food at home. And here in my refrigerator, I'm going to share with you. I promised I would share with you my ingredients. And here is Mae Thai, Mae Ploy. This is gold, and I made this when I was in America. I would order it on Amazon. There are 2 or 3 other Thai curry pastes that are competitive with this. There's a YouTube web channel called Paylin's Kitchen. I think it's like P-A-I-L-I-N. She's really good. She's got a great YouTube channel. She'll teach you how to make every Thai recipe there is. She taught me how to make curry, and I make it at home. And I buy Mae Ploy, M-A-E-P-L-O-Y. You can buy it on Shopee. They don't have the yellow curry, it's usually out of stock. They don't have the Penang, which is my favorite, but you can get the red curry. Initially I loved green curry and chicken. I made that for years until now my favorite is Penang curry. But it is so easy to make. The second thing is you can buy tom yum paste, T-O-M-Y-U-M. Tom yum paste, very inexpensive. The curry paste costs about $4.55 and it will make maybe 7 or 8 really large double portions of curry. Now, I'm telling you, the tom yum paste, you just take a teaspoon of tom yum paste, put it in a hot water in a coffee cup, and you got yourself tom yum soup. You can cut some spring onions and throw it in there. You can make a real tom yum paste with some shrimp and things like that. Amazing. Now, the curry recipe, it's so simple. You get a pot, you put just a little bit of oil in the pot, maybe like 2 tablespoons. You put in, it'll tell you how much paste to use. I put in about 4 tablespoons. You turn the temperature to high, you stir it, mix it up, you try and get the paste to boil. It sometimes can be hard to get done because the paste will be in the fridge after you've opened it. If it starts to burn, put in half the can of coconut milk. Now, here in the Philippines, coconut milk is like water. I don't know, it's the land of coconuts, but they're selling you like this watered down coconut milk. So we buy coconut cream.
Well, you can have really a real coconut here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so we buy coconut cream at S&R or at the local store, and it looks like the coconut milk back home, but it's 1/3 the price. So that's probably, the coconut milk is really cheap here. You pay much more back home. So anyway, you bring that to a boil and you try and let the curry paste kind of ooze the oil. The paste has some oil. You want to release those oils and thoroughly cook that. At this point, you put in 1 large coffee cup of chicken bouillon. You bring it to a boil, you put in your onions, you put in your carrots, you put in your eggplant. Back in the West, I would buy Thai eggplant. We put in, if you like to eat carbohydrates, put in your potatoes or your starchy vegetables. And then I throw in a pound of ground pork, usually, or I put in my dark meat chicken. If you're using dark meat chicken, you need to bring it to a boil for 20 minutes, or a boil and then simmer for 20 minutes. If you're using ground pork, 15 minutes is long enough. White meat chicken, 15 minutes is what the recipe calls for. Then, after it's boiled and simmered for 20 minutes, I throw in either a little fish oil. Is it fish oil? Or we just have some vinegar, soy, just a little bit for the salt. And now I'm going to throw in a cup of raw shrimp, or half a pound of raw shrimp. I'm going to put in the rest of my coconut cream, because if you put it all in too early, it'll boil and boil and it kind of separates. And so what you want to do is save some of the cream for the end. So I'm going to put 1 cup my second, if I make a big batch, it's my second can. If I make a smaller batch, it's the other half of the can of coconut cream. I'm going to put my shrimp in, and I'm going to have cut bok choy up too, and I'm going to add that and bring it back to a boil, and then I'm going to turn it off. And I'm just going to leave it on the stove for 10 minutes. When I come back, those shrimp are going to be perfect. Perfect. You have a curry in your house. You'll have made 2, 3, 4 meals out of it. Every Filipino you meet will love you if you let them taste some of it. Now, you can make 2 batches, or you can make it less spicy. It's pretty darn spicy. I eat it. I end up in a full sweat. But I've had occasion where some people don't like it that spicy, and what I'll do is I'll separate the batch. You know, when I put in when I add the chicken broth, when I add the coconut milk, I'll kind of separate it into a smaller third or a smaller half, and I'll make one batch less spicy. And you just two pots at the same time works great. So there you have it. That's my secret for bringing Thailand to the Philippines. It's so simple. Buy it on Amazon. Mae Ploy, M-A-E-P-L-O-Y. My favorites are the yellow curry, the Penang curry, and the red curry. There's another curry that begins with an M, like masala, and it's not spicy, so I don't really care for it. It's more of a Indonesian curry. Masala, I think. It's like a masala curry. It's not. I don't really care for it. We also buy masala. We also bought a tom yum soup packet at S&R, but it's a terrible deal. It came with these individual tom yum packets. It's enough soup for maybe one person. I think tasty, but not really. But we buy these packets at Shopee, which is the Amazon of the Philippines. Initially, we didn't know we could get the Mae Ploy, and we bought this red curry paste. It was just horrible. We don't use it. But we did buy chicken masala, because I mentioned when we order Indian food, we get this amazing masala sauce, but there's just no chicken. I don't know why you can't get protein to save your life in these restaurants. I don't know how they get away with it. But so what we'll do is we make up the chicken masala at home. And this brand is Asian Home Gourmet, and we bought it on Shopee. It costs like $1.50 probably, US. And boy, it makes up a very authentic chicken masala, just like you're out of an Indian restaurant. So the key for me is quality ingredients, cook at home. If you're gonna go out to a restaurant, it can taste really good, you just won't get any protein in your meal. Or you might get way more sugar. Now, I forgot to mention, Chrissy, the actual curry recipe calls for like 3 tablespoons of sugar. You know, Thai curry does come with a little sugar. I don't put the sugar. Do you notice the sugar missing from the curry?
No.
Yeah, so I just don't put the sugar in the curry, but you can add sugar if you want a traditional Thai tasting curry, just a couple of tablespoons of curry. We make this giant pot. It's enough to, 6, 8 servings at a time. So yeah, Filipino food is awesome. You get fresh ingredients, chicken, ground pork, ground meat. There's everything here. You can't get the Filipina in Thailand, but you can get the Thai food in the Philippines. Now that I make curry, I make it once a week. What do you think?
I love it.
Is it your favorite food?
It's one of my favorites.
There you go, from Fly Me to the Philippines. Enjoy your holidays, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
See you in our next video.
Don't forget to watch the 90-day plan and the expat housing plan.